Hi everyone, and Happy New Year. So, I have recorded a much longer video than this one. So this one is going to be very much quick intro to how what the LLM evaluator system that I have built, and the contents. Pretty much this, as you see, and the past few weeks I've been working on reading papers, designing complex backend systems, reading the Grok the system design interview, and also working on full stack projects with some interview prep. So this week's project is focused on um, experimentation with LLMs, right? So experimenting with LLMs is, as we know, very tough. And for example, let's say you want to compare and contrast OpenAI, Gemini, and Cloudy, and you want to do it with multiple test cases where you give them something and you expect some output, right? And for the output, you to evaluate it, you can use like exact match, partial match, LLM evaluations, like which is another LLM evaluating the response, and then JSON schema validation to validate if the output is supposed to be a schema. You can validate whether the schema is valid as expected to be or not. Um, or for example, tooling or function calling, how does they perform and what's their latency as well, right? So that's what we do, and this is what this application is supposed to help us. We can create an experiment, and under an experiment we can create multiple um, test cases in which when we run the experiment, those test cases are going to run. So this is what you're going to see here. We have a user, they can create an experiment. Under each experiment, they can have multiple test cases, and then under the you can run those experiments. And when you do run them, you're going to take a test case, duplicate it, save it somewhere, and then it's going to be a relation to itself, but it's going to be different test case. I have explained well why I'm doing this um, in my other video. So it's because I don't want, if for example someone edits the test case, I don't want the one that have already been run to be edited. So I just duplicate it, right? So that's the design plan, the design for my database relation here, and that's how it works. And right here we have the architectural design for when someone runs an experiment. So when you run an experiment, after like creating the experiments and test cases, you come here and say run the experiment, right? So when you do that, what's going to happen is the experiment is going to come here, and we're going to create a test case result and also experiment run, save them on our database, and then we're going to publish each or produce or push them to the queue each test case result is, so that they can be processed. So everything is going to be pending in this status, and after that our experiment run worker is going to pull from the queue, and then it's going to read, right? So what it's going to do is it's going to say, is this it's going to try to run the test case, evaluate it, and save to the database, right? If for any reason, for example, the API calls fail, or for any reason if it fails, it's going to retry um, 3 times. That's what we see here as an arrow. And if it succeeded, it's going to push to our database the result is, which is again on the same table, and then update if every element in the queue is like every test case for an experiment is processed, we're going to update the status for the experiment as completed, right? Yeah, so that's how it works. So the technologies I have used, I have Swagger documentation for my backend. This is how it looks like. We have a health check, which is pretty much just a health check, as you know. And we have an authentication, which is a peer authentication, which is using JWT. So you can create a user, login, change your password, verify your account before making any of the requests. You need to do that, and then you can edit yourself, delete yourself, experiment. You can create experiments and do all the other CRUD stuff. For test cases as well, you can do all the CRUD stuff, and test case results. These are from the experiment runs. So I don't think we actually need like test case results, except test case results with ID and delete one. we need these ones to just make sure that we will be able to fetch them in case if the link is shared and someone wants to fetch, we can use the ID to fetch from the backend, right? And experiment is right here. We can run experiments, right? So this is for running. You can get all the run experiments. For example, if you do the for example, if you do this, you can see that all experiments that have been run. There's a longer version of this. If you're interested, you can go ahead and check it, right? And after all of these routes, there's also a few things right here that you can see. This is all the LLM models. Currently, we only have like Grok models. So these are the models that we have. You can experiment with them. So when you run the experiment, you give it the, let me reset it, the LLM models and the ID for the experiment, and it will run automatically, right? It's not that complicated. It's very easy. Um, to integrate, but under the hood, there are a lot of technologies that you might want to see. So the first one is I'm using Docker. So this is my Docker configuration where I have MySQL, Redis, and also the app. It's dependent on Mailhog and MySQL. The Mailhog is used for development purpose to see all the emails that we get, right? So for example, right here, we have all of these things. So you can see them, all the emails that are being sent, right? So for example, if someone says they forget their password, an email should be sent to their email address. So for example, if you come here and say, I forgot my password, my email is user@example.com. Since I know this user already have registered, you can an OTP will be sent to your email address, and you can see it right here, right? So this is for development purpose only. It's not supposed to be used for um, deploy production level. And after this one, this is using Nest.js. So as you can see, we have like a very neat and very well structured code where we have modules. Under modules, we have each module, and then we have controllers module, services, entities, and also the details, including with TypeScript, right? And then yeah, so where did I deploy this? If you're curious, you can see that it's deployed SSH Aman. It's deployed on my server. So this is my server logged in ls. So cd code llms ls. So this is a code. You can see docker ps. So you can see all the dockers that are currently running. You can see the logs. Follow. Let's say we want to follow this docker, which is the app. Basically, you can see that everything that's being logged around here, right here, right? So for example, if someone is logging in, and if I log errors when someone runs an experiment, you can see all of those things. So for example, let's say come here and run this experiment. So let's say I can come over here, execute, copy this. This is the experiment ID, right? So and then I can just come over here. I can run this experiment, which have basically this experiment have, let's see, this experiment have like two test cases, right? So I can run it on all of these models at once, and that would be like a lot. So I'll just filter this out into two models. So it would be like four um, test case results only, right? So you can see that I have comma here, that's why. So it will be created, and then we can take the ID from here. Let me take the ID from here, and we can follow up how it's doing, right? So here you can see like if for any reason if it fails, it's going to be retried again and again. That's what's happening here. And right here you can also see if the experiment have failed or not, if you want, right? So when you get it, you can see that all the results, this one have failed, and this one have also failed, right? This one is completed, this one is completed. You can also see the scores if you want, right? um, so that's how it works. If you have any questions, you can let me know. You can also see that we have accuracy and also latency, which is measured, right? So you can see all of these things, right? So the latency for each model and so on, you can measure them and display them in graphical manner. That's what I plan to do in the future. So yeah, what's next? Securing the backend using SSL, implement more robust analytics and visualization tool. add support for different types of tools like OpenAI, Gemini, Cloudy. We're going to have like more uh, analytics tools, um, and also we're going to have more methods. Like instead of all the exact match, we're going to have partial, LLM validation, JSON schema validation, all of these things implemented. We're going to also include different customizations on the API calls. For example, do you want to simulate a chat? Do you want to simulate or a auto completion? Do you want to simulate a different kinds of processes? Like, do you want to change the temperature? Do you want to give it a role? Do you want to give it a system call? Right? The system instructions. So all those things are going to be made customizable in the future. So yeah, that's what I plan to do, and thank you very much for you listening. I know it has been longer than expected, but I wanted to give you the whole picture. That's why. Thank you.